The sky split open the moment Captain Elora Voss touched the surface of Caldera. Not literally Caldera's twin suns, still hung heavy over the dying landscape, but inside her, something shattered. The silence, the ache, the belief that Earth had sent her to die. She blinked behind her cracked visor. Dust storms howled like ghosts over the canyon's rim, swirling red ash through the air. Her boots crunched on brittle ground, skeletal remains of alien flora stretching toward her like fingers. The mission logs had called this planet a habitable fallback. That was a lie. The only thing thriving here was radiation. Behind her, the ship's wreckage burned comes fried, fuel cells ruptured, her crew either dead or missing. She was alone. Again Voss to command. She rasped into the static of her helmet mic. Mission compromised. No response from crew, coordinates transmitting. If you're still up there, send someone. No reply. Just the crackle of dying tech. She staggered forward, driven by something unexplainable, a hum in her bones. Like gravity pulling her not down, but forward, toward the mountains, toward the light. It shimmered on the horizon in natural, not fire, not flare. It pulsed like a heartbeat, like someone or something was waiting. 10 hours later, her suit's systems began to fail. Oxygen low, hydration critical. Her vision blurred, but still, she climbed as night fell. The stars blinked awake, but none of them were Earth, none of them home. That's when she saw it, a pillar of light, rising from a canyon basin below, blinding, beautiful, impossible. She stumbled closer, gasping. The light wasn't just light, it was a doorway, no metal, no seams, just air bending around itself, vibrating with warmth, memory, longing. Elara. A voice whispered not in her ears, but in her mind. She dropped to her knees, trembling. Who's there? She whispered. Another whisper, softer this time, feminine, familiar. Come home. She wanted to laugh or scream, but her legs moved anyway. With the last of her strength, Elara stepped forward and into the light. Her body didn't disintegrate. It didn't burn. It remembered. In the flash, she saw her childhood dog, the smell of cinnamon from her mother's kitchen, her first kiss under Titan Station's observation dome. Memories tangled with visions that weren't hers, cities of crystal, oceans of black glass, beings with eyes like suns, then darkness, then cold, then Elara Voss, human, fighter, survivor. She gasped awake, inside something, alive, not a cell, not a ship, a womb, soft walls pulsing around her. She floated, naked, weightless. Machines organic and alien whispered around her in light instead of sound, and standing in front of her through translucent amber was a creature, tall, luminous, female, or something close. Skin like shifting silver, hair flowing like liquid starlight, eyes that pierced her through. I am Leora, the being said aloud, and you've crossed a threshold no human ever has. Elara pressed her hand against the barrier. What is this place? Leora tilted her head. Not a place, a test, and you passed. Outside the chamber, the galaxy was still at war. Earth's last fleets were losing ground. The Zendari Armadatha, alien conquerors who had shattered Mars, vaporized Luna, and driven humanity to the edge, were circling in. But in the quiet space where Elara floated, something had changed. Not just inside her but across time, and the war was about to meet its first impossible survivor. One who walked into the light and never looked back. Elara's breath hitched as the chamber peeled open around her like a flower, awakening to sunlight. But this wasn't sunlight. This was memory made matter. The moment her foot touched the ground, she felt it, a surge of warmth up her spine, not painful, but ancient. Every molecule in her body hummed with something new, or maybe something long-forgotten. Liora stood waiting, her body translucent and wrapped in a shifting light. She didn't move, didn't speak. But Alara heard her just the same. "You are now encoded," Alara asked, still trying to shield her eyes from the brilliance around them. Leora stepped closer, the floor blooming with light under her feet. "You crossed the threshold. The light unlocked your mind. Your memories are your weapon now." Alara scoffed. "I'm a pilot, not a prophet. I came here looking for survivors." Leora's expression shifted, not pity, but awe. "You are the survivor." Suddenly, images invaded Alara's mind, visions of other thresholds, other worlds, different humans walking into the light and crumbling under the weight of their own memories. "None made it, none but her. You're saying no one else passed this test?" Alara whispered. Liora nodded solemnly. "You remembered with clarity, with pain, with hope. That's what makes you rare." Ilara's voice cracked. "Hope didn't save my crew." "No," Leora said, "but it will save your species." The chamber dissolved into a corridor made of living crystal. With each step, Ilara felt echoes her own thoughts, bouncing back to her, amplified and refracted. She saw her father's final message before boarding the Exodus. "You don't have to be a hero, Ellie. Just survive." She had, but at what cost? Leora led her into a circular room. At its center floated a sphere twisting, pulsating, as if it held a galaxy inside. "This is the archive," Leora said. "It holds every moment your species has ever known. Dreams, failures, joy, loss." And Ilara asked, unsure what she was supposed to do. Leora's eyes locked with hers. "You will project a new path." "What does that mean?" "The room answered her. The walls turned into windows, and through them, Alara saw Earthshard, bleeding, resisting. Then she saw Mars, its colonies gone. Then the Zendari mothership's grotesque living behemoths, blotting out the stars. She stepped closer, to the archive. Her hand trembled. "What happens if I fail?" she whispered. Liara's voice was gentle now. "Then everything you loved will become memory. Nothing more." Ilara closed her eyes and reached into the sphere, and her soul shouted. She didn't see war. She saw her mother's laughter, the smell of rain in New Tokyo, the rumble of jazz in underground Paris during curfew hours. She saw lovers hiding from orbital sirens, children laughing between bunkers, engineers sketching starship designs in the dark. Humanity wasn't defined by destruction. It was defined by its refusal to forget beauty. The archive pulsed, accepted her dot, and then the ground quaked. Lights flickered red. Leora's eyes flared. They found us. Outside, the stars shimmered with movement. The Zendari had detected the breach in Caldera's energy signature. "They shouldn't have been able to trace us here," Leora said. Her voice trembled now. Even she was afraid. "What do we do?" Alara asked, breath quickening. Leora turned to her, fierce and regal. "You carry the archive now. You must leave." "You want me to run?" Alara hissed. Double quotes, "No. I want you to ignite." She pressed her hand to Alara's chest. In a flash, something burned inside her. A mark, a memory, made into weapon. "What did you do?" Alara gasped. Leora's voice echoed. "I made you the last flame." Behind them, the crystalline fortress cracked under pressure. But Alara didn't look back. She sprinted toward the launch spire, an ancient stargate, dormant for millennia. It roared to life as she approached. Leora's final words followed her, like a prayer. "Your body remembers war. Your heart remembers peace. Let them both burn." The light swallowed her again, and far across the stars, on the edge of human extinction, a forgotten moon lit up with fire. The war wasn't over, because Alara Voss had just begun. The void screamed around her. Ilara tumbled through a corridor of folded space, her body suspended in quantum stasis. The Stargate's light still shimmered on her skin, but her thoughts burned louder. She wasn't just carrying memories anymore. She was becoming them. The archive's essence spiraled through her veins, every name, every sacrifice, every innovation etched into her DNA like fire. She could hear the voice of a dying poet from Earth's third collapse, whispering lines of hope. She could feel the rhythm of a mechanic's heartbeat as he fixed the last gravity stabilizer on a doomed refugee ship. Every story had a pulse, and now they lived inside her. Then, with a thunderless boom, space uncoiled and she emerged, above Luna's shattered remains, her gasp caught in her throat. Earth's moon, once a monument to human ambition, was a scorched husk, broken, floating in fragments. The last report she'd seen had said Luna was still operational. That was months ago, or maybe years. She didn't know how long the threshold had held her. Below, Earth was still spinning, still blue, still gasping for breath. But the sky above it crawled with death. Zindari warships, thousands, each one pulsing with grotesque, organic architecture like coral fused with metal, with jagged biotendrils swaying in vacuum. They fed on solar radiation, stripping light from nearby planets. They weren't machines. They were predators. And they were winning. A warning flared in her skull. Neural interface new, alien, and uninvited connection request. Human systems override detected. Activate. Symbiotic flight core. She didn't know what that meant, but her hands moved. A vessel materialized around her, grown from memory, not steel. It wasn't built. It remembered how to be a ship, sleek, silent, alive. A voice, soft and intimate, filled her thoughts. This is your mind, weaponized? She blinked at the control interface. There were no buttons, no levers, just emotion. She reached inward and the ship moved, not by touch, but by intention. She flew, faster than Earth had ever dreamed, below Earth's last orbital station. Argos Prime was moments from annihilation. A Zindari dreadship hovered over it, siphoning its power core like a leech. Human defenders scrambled and outmatched fighters, brave but broken. Alara's breath hitched. These weren't strangers. These were her people. She dove the skin shimmered as it sensed her approach. Organic armor plates began to bloom open, revealing antimatter veins and fusion barbs. But she didn't flinch. The archive responded. She remembered how humanity fought when it had nothing left. The fire of rebellion. The ingenuity of the cornered. The desperation that bred miracles. She sent a thought burn in. The vessel obeyed. Light erupted from her ship's core, laced with code older than any species should have known. A plasma burst stitched with quantum memory, the story of Earth's first resistance. The dreadship cracked like glass. The blast rippled through the battlefield. Human pilots paused. The Zindari screeched in retreat, and from the wreckage, a single message pinged across every surviving channel. Alara Voss, confirmed alive. Unknown technology. She turned the tide. In the command bay of Argos Prime, General Aaron Malik stared at the screen, blood running cold. That ship, he whispered. That's impossible. He hadn't seen Alara in 5 years. Not since she went dark on Caldera X. Not since the brass declared her Kia and scrubbed her mission from the records. But there she was, glowing like a myth, flying like a god, speaking only through action, and the enemy was afraid in orbit. Alara hovered over the remains of the dreadship, panting. Her fingers trembled. The archive was growing louder, memories colliding, overlapping, screaming to be heard. She saw flashes of futures that hadn't happened yet. Children born in domed colonies, the rebuilding of Venus. Peace treaties sealed with tears, not blood. Then, a cold presence crept in, Leora's voice, not alive, not dead, echoing, "They will come for you now, not to destroy you, but to control you." Behind her, the void shimmered. 3 Zindari warships dropped from phase space, but this time, they didn't fire. They opened communications, and a voice as ancient as time whispered in her mind, Human, you carry what was never meant to survive. We demand its return. Ilara's reply was a whisper wrapped in steel. You can't have it. And she turned toward him, ready to show the stars what humanity remembers best, how to fight back. They surrounded her like wolves. 3 Zindari warships, twice the size of Earth's last capital cruiser, floated in perfect formation, organic architecture pulsing like heartbeat drums. Their weapons weren't cannons, they were mouths, open, hungry. But Ilara wasn't prey anymore. Inside her vessel, this living archive, she wasn't just human. She was remembrance, weaponized grief, compacted hope, a carrier of humanity's soul. Return the archive, the alien voice echoed again. Deeper now, laced with ancient authority. It was stolen. It does not belong to your kind. Ilara let herself laugh, a single, defiant exhale in the silence of space. You erased 100 civilizations, she said, but they're not gone. They're remembered through us. A pause. Then the Zindari's tone shifted, less command, more curiosity. How did you survive the threshold? Ilara's fists clenched. I remembered everything, she said, even the parts that hurt. The archive pulsed around her like a second skin. It didn't feed on fuel, it fed on meaning. Every memory she allowed it to relive made the ship stronger, faster, more unpredictable. It didn't fire missiles. It projected truth. She summoned the pain of the Mars Exodus families clinging. 2 airlock doors, mothers strapping children into one-way pods. She fed it the courage of soldiers who had fought without hope. She gave it the memory of her own broken bones and the day she held her captain as he bled out in her arms, and the archive responded. It bloomed outward like a nova, sending waves of encoded emotion toward these Zindari ships, not data, empathy. The alien ships reeled, their smooth hulls distorting like ripples in water. Inside the enemy flagship, the Zindari Council convulsed. The human memory burst wasn't just noise, it was poison. Their neural lattice, designed to suppress emotion for optimal decision-making, couldn't filter what it had never encountered before. Love, loss, rage, resilience. One of the ships blinked, out of phase, and fled. Another began to weep, literally. Its organic surface cracked, leaking iridescent fluid. The third remained. You are dangerous, the Zindari commander hissed, its voice fractured. You are chaos. No, Ilara replied. I'm a reminder. She turned, her vessel wings of light unfolding behind her. Tell your kind, humanity remembers. And we're not done yet. Then she vanished. Back on Earth, chaos erupted. The encrypted transmission from Ilara's ship spread like wildfire across crumbling networks. Footage of her annihilating a dredge. Audio of her defying the Zindari's demand. Her name, once buried in classified files, became a beacon. Ilara Voss is alive. Underground stations lit up with chants. Colonies once resigned to surrender began transmitting resistance codes again. Engineers wept as they unpacked prototypes they had long abandoned. One by one, old weapons reactivated, hidden ships reassembled. The humans didn't just believe in survival now, they believed in vengeance. General Aaron Malik stood before the High Council. She's doing what your fleets couldn't, he said, eyes blazing. She's uniting us. Not with orders, but with memory. The Chancellor leaned forward, grave. She's unstable. The archive isn't meant to be controlled by one mind. If she breaks, she won't, Malik snapped. She's not just carrying it, she understands it. A silence hung. Then the Chancellor said, if she is what you say, we must reach her. In the deep vacuum of the belt, Ilara floated in stillness. The archive whispered memories back to her, gentler now. Children learning to walk in gravity boots. A man planting a tree in a Martian crater. A pilot humming to herself before battle. All echoes of what made Earth worth saving. Then a spark. Not from the archive, from somewhere else. Her console flared. An old code. A voice from the past. Alara, if you're hearing this. It's Malik. I knew you'd find a way back. She froze. I've gathered the last ships we have. We're ready to follow. But only if you say the word. She exhaled and whispered into the stars. Light the fuse. Across systems, old warships. Powered on. Civilian transports became gunships. Medical freighters armored up. Scrap satellites were turned into orbital weapons. And at the center of it, all like a lighthouse in the void, was one woman with 1,000 memories in her blood. Ilara Voss. The past had armed her now. The future was waiting to see if she could ignite it. The stars trembled before they exploded. From Earth's fractured orbit to the burnt skies of Europa, every human satellite, every hidden defense relay, every ghost signal left buried activated at once. Ilara Voss had given the word. The fuse was lit. The last war of humankind had begun. Her vessel hovered at the edge of Saturn's rings, cloaked in a shimmer of refracted memory. Around her, the archive breathed like a living star. The ship was no longer just a vessel, it was an extension of her mind, her pulse, her soul. In her thoughts, she replayed her mother's final lullaby, her father's calloused hand on her shoulder, her crew's laughter, muffled in the oxygen masks before the caldera crash. The archive didn't just recall the moments, it weaponized them. Each memory an arrow, each name gunpowder, each tear ammunition. In front of her, the Zindari Armada loomed like a god's curse. Hundreds of bio-warships clustered in tight formation, pulsing like a living hive, converging toward Earth for one final purge. They had underestimated humanity. They always had. Alara. General Malik's voice came through the neural uplink. Our fleet's in position, but we can't stop them without your breakthrough. It's not just me, she said. It's us. And with that, she dove into the fire. Her ship sliced through vacuum like light itself, flaring with spectral energy. The archive released its first wave, an emotional shockwave wrapped in frequency coding. Instead of jamming enemy signals, it forced the Zindari to feel. They convulsed. They screamed. Their neural systems, bred to dominate and erase, couldn't process hope behind her. Human ships poured in, cobbled together from forgotten tech, driven by willpower, desperation, love. They weren't supposed to win, but they believed they could. That belief had weight now. Momentum. For every Zindari blast, there was a human counterstrike. For every fallen fighter, 10 more charged in with burning eyes. They weren't fighting for orders. They were fighting for memories that had almost been erased. Deep within the Zindari command vessel, the Primarch shrieked. The human flame must be extinguished, now. But it was too late. Elara reached the core, the center of their hive network, the neural lattice that controlled fleet coordination, communication, dominance. And she opened the archive, not as a bomb, as a mirror. She showed them Earth's first dance beneath moonlight. The first heartbeat recorded in analog, the death of a star mapped by a human child's hands. She showed them fear, pain, forgiveness, all the things they'd tried to erase. The Zindari core convulsed, destabilized by the infinity of emotion. The armada faltered. Ships blinked out of phase. Others turned on one another, screaming from within, their pilots lost to the chaos of remembrance. And in the silence that followed, Earth breathed again. Later, no one agreed on what happened to Ilara Voss. Some say her ship disintegrated with the final pulse. Others claim she ascended, becoming pure light, folded into the archive itself, still guiding lost travelers in deep space. But her voice, her memory, was imprinted across every system. I wasn't the first. I won't be the last. But I was enough to remind you what we are. We remember, and that is why we win. Years later, a child stands beneath a rebuilt sky. She asks her mother, did she really exist? Ilara Voss. Her mother smiles. Some say she walked into the light and never came back. But I say, She became the light.